How's it going, everybody? Stellar again here. This is the part 2 video for the trim sheet. If you haven't seen the first part, I highly recommend going and checking that out. Today, in this video, we're going to add some more smaller details, kind of flesh this thing out, and start working on some floaters for it as well. So we're just going to have some fun with it and just get in there and add some smaller details so that way we could try to utilize this trim sheet as much as possible for future references. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and get a trim sheet going here, or not a trim sheet but a little floater going here. And what I like to do is I like to start off with just like a plane. It works pretty well. So that's what we're going to do with that today. I'm just going to go ahead and join these together so I can get a single vert in there. Then we're going to use a little bit of Hardops here just to get in and get us a circle going. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it some more divisions here. I'm kind of happy with how that looks. So basically we're just going to make some decent little floater bits here to have some fun with. And the floaters are going to be basically for free geometry, basically. Like we don't have to have these in when we bake it. We can have a lot of fun with it that way as well. And so for this, I'm just kind of going at it and having fun. I don't really have any vision as far as little floaters go, but they definitely help as far as making some decent details go. So I'm just going to bevel this once just so we can get... Well, actually I'm not going to bevel. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there and go ahead and just get rid of these exterior faces here, just so we're kind of left with this. And then I'm going to E and S just to scale it up so we kind of give it a little bit more room to work with here. And I'm just going to add some divisions there just to kind of smooth it up a little bit. And right now I'm just going to use some Hardops action here to give it a good little 360 array, and I'm going to count turn my divisions up a little bit, or my count up, if I can use my words today. I should probably apply the scale before I do that, because that's giving me a bit of an issue. I have this big thing with trying to remember that, you know, my scale is kind of garbage, and even here I'm having a little bit of an issue. So we're just going to go ahead and pretend like that never happened. So we got a little floater here. I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple of loops in there just so it kind of cleans up those lines a bit. And we'll go ahead and give it a nice little bevel. And so that could be a decent little floater there. And we can now use this as a form of free geometry. If I can not fat finger my whole keyboard here. And yeah, we can just go in and have some fun. I'm going to need to clean up that geometry because it's a bit rough looking down in there, but we'll save that for later. I'm just going to Shift R to duplicate these and just make them a bit smaller and kind of get them where I want them to be. And yeah, basically these are just really good ways to add some depth and whatnot to your work here, and it doesn't cost much. Basically these are going to get baked into the mesh whenever we do our mapping and baking and whatnot. So this will give you some decent, like, little greebly, whatever you want to call them, details. And I quite like them. I like using floaters. You know, you can always make different types of floaters. It doesn't always have to be the, you know, the same thing over and over again. And the possibilities are endless. Like, you can make all types of floaters. Yeah, I definitely recommend just going in and having fun with it. I should have moved these down in the first place. And you want to be careful with floaters on curved edges here. So these curves, they're not going to work out in my favor, and I don't want them to mess me up. So what we're going to do instead is we're just going to just kind of relocate these, give them a new home to live in, so that way, you know, we don't have to worry about if they're doing okay out there hanging out by themselves or not. That basically just lets us know that they're doing good. So I'm just grabbing my floaters here and I'm going to join them all together. And we're just going to duplicate them over. Just so you know, it matches up on the other side. We don't want to have any issues. And we're having a bit of a mirror issue here, but that's not a problem. We will revisit that one, and instead of revisiting it, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and Control-Z that because we were on the wrong thing. I'm going to go ahead and just apply those modifiers, and I'm going to get rid of this middle one here because I do not like it and I don't feel like dealing with it. So that looks pretty good to me. We're going to make another sheet here, or another little floating object, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to take this, go up to Mesh, actually not that, we're going to just merge these at center here where we have a nice little triangle. And we're going to take the verts here and Control-Shift-B, bevel them, just so we get kind of like a nice little shape here. And I'm going to go ahead and take this shape and just have some fun with it. And see, I wasn't paying attention when I inset that, and it gave me a little bit of an issue. So we got a decent little floater here as well. Go ahead and move this down to about where we need it to be. You usually want to have your floaters like right up on the mesh that you're putting them on. So I'll have to adjust basically these just to get them to where they need to be. We can go ahead and move this into its new home, give it a new place to live and have fun in. So that's what we're going to do with that. I didn't mean to press Shift F there. Just kind of add some details where you're lacking details, really. We're looking pretty good. So yeah, when it comes to, you know, doing like trim sheets, designs and everything, you know, you definitely want to go through and make sure you don't have any horrible artifacts like I happen to have here. But 9 times out of 10, these artifacts are usually easy to fix, and a good way to fix these type of artifacts is if we go in here to our blue box and make sure we're on our object for the origin. And I'm just going to select box and just draw in a box, really. Send that through. Now we got all kinds of extra geometry here. We can go ahead and delete our problem children, because we don't need these guys in our lives ruining it any more than they already are. We can go ahead and dissolve those edges, and that cleaned up those artifact issues there. So stuff like this, it's basic, fixing of the artifacts, really, and it's not hard to do. You just got to look at areas where it's getting a lot of stress. Like right here, it's starting to pinch, so we kind of want to just move that to where it needs to be, to where it has a little bit more love and support in its life. Go ahead and just get rid of that, and that got rid of an issue, but it kind of gave us another one. Usually that's not a problem. Sometimes the weighted normal modifier will fix that, and sometimes it'll give you more issues than it needs to be. But moving along, so I can go ahead and grab this floater here, and we will go ahead and just give it some more places to be, because it wants to have fun in its life too. We'll go ahead and rotate that all the way around. I kind of like the size of this, so we'll go ahead and just slap that one right there. And just keep going through, looking in areas of small or no detail. And you definitely want to put, your floaters, your more detail and stuff like that. And it doesn't all have to be floaters either. What we can also do is go in and add some secondary mesh. Just kind of like spice up the sheet a little bit. Give it some details that it wouldn't have already otherwise had just using normal Boxcutter and Hardops. You can go in and just add some basic meshes and have fun with that as well. So we'll try to do something cool with this cylinder here. And it doesn't even have to be like groundbreaking geometry or anything. It could be very simple stuff, just to kind of sell the idea of, this does stuff. It's not just there for the fun of it. Like, you got to give it a little bit of a story. And even if that story is very minimal and doesn't really matter in the long run, it still can help with your designs and everything like that. Because you don't want to have these big open areas full of no space. That's just wasting areas you could have otherwise filled up with good information, or good geometry rather. And so I'm just kind of cheating here. I want to get this directly in the center so we don't have any mirror issues. We'll go ahead and snap selection to cursor. I know I should have duplicated that first, but sometimes it be like that. It is, it is what it is, and just got to get over it sometimes. So that looks good. We got a nice mirror going on here. And yeah, we just go in, have fun with it, get some cool shape designs going. Areas like this, you can definitely do just minimal stuff. Like it's a good opportunity to utilize the blue box here, so we'll go ahead and do that. We'll just give this a neat little bevel for no other real good reason but because we can. And that's the joy with doing 3D stuff, is you don't have to have a reason for what you're doing. As long as you're enjoying it, you can do whatever you want, within good reason. Like if you're trying to do some crazy off the wall stuff and you either A, don't have the experience for it, or B, it's just not physically possible in Blender, then definitely, you know, try to stick with feasible options. Like if you're new in Blender and you haven't even made like the basic donut that everybody else has made, then, you know, I highly recommend just taking a look at Blender and having some fun with it before you get too overwhelmed with all of the options that you have. I've had several people message me and ask me, you know, if I'd be able to help them out and, you know, give them pointers and tell them, you know, how to do this and how to do that. And my basic answer for all of that is no amount of information that I give you guys is going to make you good on, you know, doing 3D stuff overnight. You gotta practice. You gotta just get in there, have fun. If you want to learn the, you know, Boxcutter and Hardops, highly recommend it because it definitely does help with making life easier. Really, is all I can say. You know, they're there for a reason. They're made by great people. I've seen too many times where you know, people make a good tool, be it in real life or for, you know, Blender. People will make something and they won't put a lot of thought into it on how people can, you know, utilize their tools and everything. So hopefully, if I can figure out what in the world is going on with this. Yeah, hopefully Boxcutter and Hardops becomes like a really used tool. In my opinion, it's priceless. Like the cost of it is nothing compared to, you know, what you can actually do with the tools. And here I'm just going to add in just another cylinder and rotate it over on the X. Kind of get some like little pipe action going in here. Yet again, for no other reason but because I can. I was noticing this area was looking just a little bit too plain for my liking, so we're just gonna keep on with it. And yeah, just throw a couple of pipes in here and see what we're looking like. I've also had people asking me, you know, how do you know what to do to, you know, create content and everything? And my thing is, you know, just create a list of stuff that you want to do, be it, you know, for your own personal work, or if, you know, you're like making videos or whatever. If you don't know what to do, just, you know, make a list and write down all the stuff that, you know, is interesting to you, and just pick from the list, even if you got to use like a random number generator to help you decide with what it is you want to do. Then, you know, any information on what to do is better than no information, in my opinion. So, you know, just go out through the world and look at stuff and think of how you would go about making that in Blender, and that might inspire you to do something. And so right here, another perfect example of why Blue Box could help us. And instead of C-sharping it like I did, we're going to see if Blue Box wants to work with us today here. And I'm just going to draw a box in and click to execute it. And now we'll C-sharp it. You see what the Blue Box did for us? It gave us this nice geometry, cleaned up all those issues. So Blue Box, definitely a helpful tool. I cannot recommend it enough to people. I really do enjoy using Blue Box. You know, it comes in clutch sometimes, you know.
The definition of matter is that it's something extended, and extension is always subdivisible. So if they're not further subdivisible, they can't be extended. And if they're not extended, they can't be matter.
And right here I'm just playing with a shape idea that had popped up into my head. Like I said, sometimes your worst enemy could be, you know, overthinking something, and that's something you definitely don't want to do, is overthink anything. You know, you don't want to have like this crazy long drawn out process to something otherwise could be simple. You just gotta go in and have fun with it and just enjoy what it is you're doing, even if it's the most mundane, simple tasks. You know, sometimes if you overthink it, you're not going to be having a fun time. So just get in there and have fun with it is all I can pretty much say to people. Is it's going to be pretty much the same thing always. You know, get in there, have fun with it. If you're not going in and trying to have fun with whatever it is you're doing, and it's becoming more of just a task, then you're never really just going to enjoy it. For me, I enjoy doing this stuff because, you know, for one, it's kind of therapeutic, and two, you get to make anything in the world that you can possibly think of, or anything not from this world. So, in my opinion, it's invaluable. So that idea wasn't going to work because I don't have any supports going down, and that's not a problem. That's what we can do. You know, if we hold Alt here, go to our wedge box here, I'm just going to draw a line, hold Control to keep it along a specific axis, and then I'm just going to go in and draw this box. Now I'm going to take these two edges and just scale them in on the X, get them kind of where I want them to be. We'll do something like that. So just these two simple things. So you know, we got a bevel here and we got a little wedge cut there. You know, in the grand scheme of things, that's more detail than what it was. So we also want to get this floater over here. Either find a good home for him or just send him off to the abyss, and at this point I think I'm just going to send him off to the abyss.
That may be true or may be false.
Now what I'm going to do is just have fun with this, and not necessarily add any floaters, but you know, add in some fun geometry to work with here. No clue why I C-sharp that. I've had people ask me, they're like, why do you C-sharp stuff so much? Why don't you just just hit the sharp button? Is because I have a unique workflow, in my opinion, and part of that workflow is once I get something the way I want it, I C-sharp it, and that's it for that shape, basically. And I get so used to C-sharpening things, I usually just do it for everything. And we're just gonna push these in here. I don't like how high they are. I kind of want something a little bit more simple. Kind of like that, but we do have an issue. They are kind of getting up in that other mesh's grill, but that's not a problem. We can just go ahead and, you know, make it smaller. We'll apply the array modifiers here. I'm just going to go ahead and join those all together so we don't have to click them all the time, and I'll just mirror them over. So got a little bit of more detail in there. And the cool thing is once you get all like your details and everything in, is you can always get like a general preview of what your stuff would look like as far as a normal map goes. Is if you just go to the normal map mat cap and just take a look at it and see what you're working with, see how it's looking. And if we look at our floaters here, yeah, they got pretty good like geometry. Basically is they'll bake pretty nice. These will as well. They'll have nice like crisp sharp outline details, and you know, it'll end up working out for the best. So now what we need to do is turn off this mat cap for one. I'll just go ahead and grab all of these floaters that we made earlier, kind of get them grouped up just so they're mirrored on the other side. We don't want to have just one side with detail and one side without detail, because that would look not great. And so there we go, we got more detail going across. The more detail, the merrier. You know, you can never really go wrong with detail. But earlier in my trials, I did notice that I had a little bit of issues going on here, and it's because we have geometry that is getting just too close to each other, not giving the other points to breathe here. So what we'll do is just go ahead and clean that up a little bit, and we could probably turn this bevel down a bit too, because it is a little bit on the sharp side. You know, go in, have fun with your bevels, enjoy what you're doing. You know, this is, like I said in my last video, this is a good time to, you know, listen to music, have some fun, and just enjoy what it is you're doing. I did not mean to merge that at center, I meant to merge it last. That's what I wanted. Just a little bit more detail, nothing crazy. I'm just going through refining some shapes and everything, refining some ideas. And here I kind of want to do something, let's see, what do we do here? We'll just go with a good old yellow box and have some fun with it. I don't want a wedge yellow box, I want just a normal yellow box. We'll go ahead and throw it in a nice hard bevel and just go through with it. Try to break up this big flat plane here. We don't want, you know, all that craziness going on. And I'm going to take these two as well and just bevel them over. You know, like I keep preaching, have fun with it. Just go in. If you see an area that looks a little boring, give it some extra love. Like, I don't like how this turned out, so we might have to either just get rid of it or just roll with it for now. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of how that turned out. And I don't want to reuse the same parts over and over again too, so we'll try to avoid that as much as possible. Just go in, add cuts, slices, you know, have fun practicing the tools. These little trim sheets that we're doing here, it offers a good opportunity to help you learn, you know, Boxcutter and Hardops and everything, and just have fun with the designs. Have fun with the tools, learn the tools a little bit, you know, just get in there and start messing some stuff up. Make sure whatever it is you're selecting has the right. Now, I can't entirely tell what happened with that, so we're going to leave that for now and see what happens after we bevel this. And it still gave us a bit of an issue, but it looks like it went away. It might have had something to do with the mirror there. So if we'll notice, our normals on this happen to be inverted. That's another thing you want to, you know, keep a good eye on, is whether it is what you're doing is it's all jacked up or not. You don't want to have a bunch of, you know, jacked up normals, especially if you're going to be doing normal baking. That's like one of the worst things to have happen, is messed up normals. I do kind of want to do something with this here because it is a bit boring, but I did kind of screw myself a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that, and we'll have some fun with this as well. kind of want to do, you know, generally the same thing I just did on the last one, but I don't want it to be, you know, as boring as it was, because it was a bit boring. And if you didn't realize, then definitely go and rewind and look. It was not as entertaining as it could have been. And then I'm just going to take these here and just send it and have fun with it, because I kind of like how that turned out a lot better than, you know, what we had a few moments ago. What we had a few moments ago, it was not a good look. It didn't look too good. So yeah, we're looking pretty good here. We can go in and try to get some more floaters going on, possibly. So for that, I'm just going to go ahead and speed this up for you guys. I'm just going to make a couple more floaters with some planes here. And yeah, I'm just going to make those, and I'll pop back in towards the end and we'll go from there. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. We'll go ahead and call it here as far as this goes. I'm quite happy with how this looks. There's a lot of potential for different decals and everything like that, so definitely just going to go ahead and send it like this. So what we'll do is we can go ahead and just kind of set up like a good little, you know, scene here, just to kind of see what we're looking like. I love the what light was it? Both studio and the sunset as a material. So I definitely do like this here. So now what we'll do is just select all, and I will do Alt V, and actually no, I keep forgetting where it goes. Keep forgetting where it's at. So it is. Make sure I have like an active selected here. It's under Mesh Tools, and then we'll just add a blank material just to this, just a single color, just so we can kind of see what we got going on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the roughness down just so we can get some good little reflections going, and we're not looking too bad. Go ahead and turn on the Eevee HQ there, and it definitely gave us a bunch of shadows, and that's not a problem. So what we'll do is we'll just press Q and do add lights, and just kind of cycle through and get some lights going here until we find something that we like. I kind of like this orange color. So yeah, that's pretty much what we got so far. And it doesn't look too bad. Like it would look pretty much like this, maybe not as like height detailed once we get our bakes going, and I'll show you guys how to do that in the next video. But for right now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and save this as a copy, and I'll show you guys how I go about getting my height map for this sheet here, and it's very, very simple. But what I want to do first is go ahead and just add in a plane and just push it down, so that way we don't have any empty holes or anything showing up in our geometry. We don't want any of those issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this as a different file, because I like to have multiple versions of my files just in case I want to go back and, you know, if you saved your file and closed it, you can't Control Z, so definitely make copies of whatever it is you're doing. Alright, so I went ahead and got this saved. What we'll do now is we'll go ahead and select everything, and then we'll just do visual geometry to mesh here. And that may have worked. Okay, so it looks like it worked. That's the plus side. So we'll go ahead and just get rid of all of our lights here, because they're not going to be needed for this step. And then we'll go ahead and just select all of these and just join them together to where they're one solid mesh. And that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to go over to our shading tab here. Kind of get zoomed in and look at whatever we got going on here. So it's not a bad looking sheet. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get rid of this principled BSDF here, and I will add in a geometry node. I learned this trick from Default Cube on how to get a displacement map, but with a few minor tweaks you can actually get a very, very good usable height map. So we'll go and get a separate XYZ and a math node. And before we do any of that, I do want to go in and just move this upwards a bit because it is not where I need it to be. I will do origin to cursor. So once we got this going, we'll go ahead and take position, put that into the vector, and then we will take the Z and plug this into the first value of our math node here, and we will turn it into multiply. And now what we need is another math node. We'll turn that into a greater than node, and we'll plug the value into the surface here, and this value into that value. And we'll just change the threshold until it is all nice and white here. And we will start tweaking this until we get just the top showing up here. So it's looking like things are a little backwards, but that's not a problem. Go ahead and get just the very top of the information, like we don't want anything too crazy here, and we'll go ahead and just tweak it until we get it to where it's like a nice gradient from black to white. So I'll just remove that, and so now we got like a nice black and white. You want it like a deepish gray color where black is representing 0 in height and white represents 1 in height. That's pretty much how height maps work. The brighter your whites are, or your grays rather, the brighter those are, the higher the height information is for it. So right here I usually do about 900 to 950. So we'll just do 950 and that'll work pretty well. So with this information, and instead it's looking a little too white, so we'll go ahead and turn that down just so we can get a little bit more of our gray values in. So you just want to tweak that, and that looks pretty good. You got like a decent little height map here, and what you will do on top of this is we'll go back into modeling here. I'll go to my top view, and don't worry about your render or anything, because the node that we just created, it doesn't react with light, so that's a neat thing. What we can do is go ahead and add in our camera, and while we're here we'll just do Control Alt 0, and we will change our resolution. I like to do 4096, so we'll change the resolution to 4096 by 4096, so we get like a perfect square going here. And I will change my camera to orthographic. I'll go ahead and send the camera to the cursor here, snap selection to cursor, and we'll just bring this back until we get the right position here. And I'm not entirely sure what's going on as far as this goes. Oh, it's the orthographic scale. You can't use up and down because it's orthographic. I always forget, so, you know, pardon my lack of knowledge as far as that goes. And so we want to get it like right where the camera is on the outline of our mesh here. So that's looking pretty good. We're right on the money. And then all of what you'll do, so just go ahead and always save before you render. I have this thing every time before I render something, I like to save it because it's crashed on me before. Not necessarily doing this here, but I want to make sure all is well. So you can save this into multiple different types of formats. If you want like a displacement map, you'll need to do EXR. PNG works perfectly fine for height maps, so that's what I like to keep it on. And I like to turn it up to 16-bit color depth. And what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and render that out just by hitting F12 there. And it may take a minute because I am recording while doing so. And it looks like our height information is showing up pretty good. It's nice and crispy. If you want more detail, you can always, you know, just crank up your height info, or your, just edit the node a bit to make the map a little bit more crispy. You can also increase your resolution to like 8K, but I've had really good results just doing 2K and 4K. But yeah, that's pretty much how you go about doing that, getting a decent little height map. You can import that into like an already set up Substance Designer file. You can also learn how to bake it within Blender. I'm still learning that myself, so Substance Designer is currently my best friend as far as that goes, and you can get really good results with it too. But stick around for part 3 coming up soon, where we utilize the map that we just created here inside of Substance Designer, or any other program really. I'm going to look into different alternatives. There are free like baking softwares out there. I know there's one that Masters Eon had linked to me as far as baking goes that I'm still working on and learning a little bit. So yeah, stick around for part 3. We're going to learn how to bake the maps and tweak it to where we get a nice good final setting, and then we'll import it back into Blender and chop it up with some decalmachine and get some good trims going, some good decals going. And yeah, I'm glad you guys watched. I appreciate, you know, all of the support that you guys have been giving me, and until next time, have a great day.